Do you know what happened to this place? How this barren desert has transformed into this happy town. Because of this dam, Hoover Dam. So when they build this Hoover Dam and collect a lot of water, which enabled turbine generator to spin to generate lots of electricity. And that electricity came to distribute to lots of nearby towns. So the desert has become completely changed. The Venerable Dosung, our third head Dharma master, Won Buddhism, said, spiritual cultivation, for example, practicing meditation, it's just like collecting lots of water at the dam. At the hydroelectric power plant, the electricity is created. It's just like honing our wisdom, cultivating our wisdom. Based on that, with a very sound thought in our daily life, we can make a very skillful choice or carry out mindful action. So, spiritual cultivation, cultivating wisdom, mindful choice is called in Buddhism threefold practice or threefold training. This is the three paths to restore our original mind. So, the most fundamental and basic and important teaching of the Buddha is the Four Noble Truths. Life is a dukkha or dissatisfaction. There must be some cause. What is the origin of the dissatisfaction, which is the second noble truth? That's attachment, craving. That's the root cause. That's the second noble truth. And the third noble truth is the cessation of suffering or nirvana. That's all we want in our life. What can be the path? What can be the way to end the suffering? That's the Eightfold Path. Eightfold Path. Very simple and clear. Right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness. If we walk these Eightfold Path in our life would be led to freedom and ending of suffering. Yesterday I talked about right view. Today, let's just think about the second Eightfold Path. Right thought or thinking, samyak samkalpa. Sometimes it's translated as a right intention. How do you think? Do you like your job, your occupation? Okay. Yeah, you're very lucky. Or do you like your spouse? whether it's your spouse or your occupation, that's what you chose. That choice arose in your mind. You just follow one thought or one judgment. Our life is a succession of choices. Depending on our choice, our life can be very satisfactory or miserable. In every area, in human relationship, or at work, or in our spiritual practice, in every area, our choice is very critical, and that choice arises in our mind. It's common sense. Guarding our mind is guarding our life. Controlling our thought is controlling our life. This quote is from the Dharma, the words of the Buddha. Preceded by mind are phenomena, led by mind, formed by mind. If your mind polluted, one speaks or acts, then pain follows as a wheel follows the draft, ox foot. Preceded by mind are phenomena, led by mind, formed by mind. If with the mind pure, one speaks or acts, then ease follows as the ever-present shallow. If right thought or skillful or sound thought is very important, then specifically, what does that mean, right thought? What is a right thought? Right thought is the thought that leads our life happy, successful, and eventually leading us to complete liberation. That is, we can call so-called right thought. As we studied together yesterday, right thought is very much related with the right view. It's inseparable. Based on right view, if we have a very sound, wholesome value system and some holy life goal, whether you practice meditation or not, your mind will be very, very calm and peaceful. Not greatly, but we may not be that much tempted by the worldly things. Why we are stressed out, why we are angry at someone, it's because of our unwholesome desire, which is the root of our wandering thoughts that we can watch during sitting meditation. So, as I emphasized yesterday, we need, especially as a practitioner, we need to constantly reflect what we really want in our life, what's our ultimate life goal, and what's our value system like. So that's why we chant Ilon Sangva constantly. It's not something that we can accomplish in one day. So, Shamkarpa means thought, thinking, as well as intention, right intention. Some scholars translate that translate that as a right intention. Intention is the purposive aspect of our activity. For example, during operation, doctors can kill patient. That happens. But that's different from a soldier killing the other soldier on the battlefield. Even in the same battlefield, one soldier or just one person, in order to defend his life, his family's life, he has to kill other person is different from killing other people in order to take something easily. So behind our thoughts, behind our decision, Buddha asked us to examine our intention. Even though it is the same act, our intention might be different. So depending on our intention, we can be greatly or a little bit helped or guided by the universe, which is the awareness itself. Probably like 10 years ago, I had a 1-week retreat in 10,000 Buddha's monastery in California. And the founder of the monastery was one Chinese Zen master. And he started to eat one meal in a day. Not for losing weight, but he would like to live along with the average Chinese persons at the time, like 100 years ago. The Chinese people, he came from the Manchuria, was very, very poor, exploited by the Japanese imperialism. So in order to sympathize those poor people, he started to eat one meal, which he observed for his whole life. There are many people who eat just one meal. Some people eat because they don't have much food, many people in Africa. Some people eat one meal because of a diet, to lose weight, etc. But the intention is different. Buddha said that intention is very much important. So many Buddhist priests practice basically in order to cut off the cycle of birth and death and have a complete liberation, be free from this samsara. Most of the Zen priest, life goal is that. But our third head Dharma master, Venerable Dosung, said, in order to attain supreme enlightenment, just like Shakyamuni Buddha, that is not enough. Practitioner, just like the second chapter of the Diamond Sutra, the practitioner, that bodhisattva should give rise a great vow to save all sentient beings. So I would like to attain a great enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. That vow should be deeply embedded in the practitioner's mind in order for that person to achieve a great enlightenment. So depending on our intention, as I said, how much we can be provided, guided, helped is different. The third thing is right speech, shamyak bhakha, shamyak bhakha. Let me quote one of the passages from our scripture. Sotaesan, the founding master of Won Buddhism, said, when the Korean proverb says, he is blowing a bugle, a horn, it refers to a person who is spreading gossips. Everyone has a bugle to blow. Some play a tune which comforts others, while some play a tune which makes others uneasy, sad, or pleasant. Some bring people together in peaceful harmony, and some lead people to fight. Thus, disciples, when you blow a bugle in various situations, be mindful to play a pleasant tune which will bring many people peace and harmony. Do not play a tune which brings conflict and disaster to the public. Then your bugle will be the instrument which creates immeasurable blessings. Otherwise, it will be an evil source bringing forth countless misfortunes. Think about how many good relationships has been broken because of some wrong speech. It can come from ourselves or from other people. Or how many mistakes we have made because we misused our tongue, our speech. So Taosan said, people can inspire the minds of others with hope and peace, but also with despair and anxiety, even with a simple talk and a few words. Therefore, those who commit transgressions are not always originally evil. Many of them, without knowing the principle of what is transgression and what is blessedness, often commit sins unconsciously. So there's a Korean saying, the mouth is the gate of calamity, the gateway of a disaster. But our second head Dharma master said, no, it's wrong. It can be the gate of both. It can be the gate of a calamity, but it's also a gate of many blessings. This is I told probably in one of the Sunday service several months ago. One Korean guy became bankrupt because of the long depression in Korean economy. And his wife had to work, had to have a second job. And when she came back, the house is really messy, and the house atmosphere is very much depressing. And they started to talk with each other, to their children. So the house atmosphere was very bad. So after several months, she decided in her mind, I cannot live with my children and with my husband in this way any longer. She decided her mind, well, I will talk to my husband first in a very cheerful and encouraging way, to my husband as well as to my children. So anyway, she practiced that kind of mindfulness for several months. And then the things become a little changed, and her husband started to a new business, and he started to prosper, and they could buy the previous house, and things become very peaceful and stabilized. One day, the husband told her, "You needed to see something." And he showed her a note on paper. When she read that, she was shocked. It was a suicide note that her husband wrote like several months, probably 1 year ago. So the story goes, the husband thought he had no hope. He could not revive his family. And he decided to kill himself. And one night, he came to the balcony. They lived on the 7th floor of some apartment. And he tried to smoke the last cigarette. At the time, he saw her wife got out of the car, and she waved to him, "Honey, I'm home." When he saw his wife cheerful mood in that very depressed situation, he became very encouraged and changed his life direction. And then the suicide note was full of tear stains. Just like that simple word, "Honey, I am home," probably it may not come from her heart. That's one item of mindfulness. Whether she liked that or not, she decided to say that type of words. That saved her life, the husband's life, as well as our family. So we can dislike some person in our mind, but that's different from saying really nasty, hurtful word to that person. The energy level is very different. So our worlds are like spilled water. We cannot bring him back. That's why almost 1/3 of the Buddhist precepts are code of conduct, ethical conduct, are related with mindful speech. For example, abstain from false speech, abstain from malicious speech, abstain from harsh speech, abstain from useless speech. I think many of you already saw this photo. The Japanese scientist, Dr. Emoto, conducted a very interesting experiment. It's still a very controversial thing. How water responds to our words. So I will put this calendar, and after this you get it. When the water is exposed to a very positive word, "You are beautiful, you are precious, I like you." Then, when the molecules of the frozen water was observed by the microscope, just like you see all these patterns. It's colorful, beautiful, symmetric, and bright. there are various directions of experiment. Not just the water being exposed to positive word. The cup is placed on top of the Heart Sutra, for example. The water, when it's frozen, the molecules is being changed in this beautiful way. But when the water is exposed to negative words, I hate you, you're ugly, then it looks like a broken glass. It's asymmetric. The color is very dark. You can Google it to see the photo. Use the keyword, the water knows, Dr. Emoto. Lots of photos pops up. One Buddhist elementary school teacher in Korea was very curious. Is that really true? Really water, our body, 70% of our body is composed of the water. So how much our thoughts, words really affect ourselves as well as to other person. She's a little suspicious. So she conducted her own experiment in her classroom. She prepared 2 bowls of steamed rice, the regular steamed rice you eat here. And she said to her class student, elementary school students, when you enter the classroom, to this steamed rice, you say positive word. You are delicious, you are beautiful, etc. To other bowl of steamed rice, you need to say harsh word. I don't think the elementary school students say that in a serious way, but they just did what they were told by the students. After 3 days, the bowl of steamed rice that's exposed by positive word, the rice is still pretty fresh. Usually after 2 days, it starts to become rot. But the rice, which is exposed by negative word, after 1 day, on the surface of the rice, the bowl, fungus, black fungus start together, and it decayed. It started to decay after 2 days. There's a very striking difference. When the elementary school students saw that, then the teacher told us that all the students became very mindful to say something to their friends and to their parents. So even those insentient beings respond to our mind as well as our word. That's why in Buddhist, many items of Buddhist precepts is related with controlling our tongue. This is a pretty well-known story. One day, Shakyamuni Buddha walked in the forest along with his student. And Ananda picked up one dry branch with some leaves. So Buddha asked Ananda, would you count the number of leaves on that branch? He counted. It's like 12. And the Buddha asked again, can you count the number of leaves in this forest? No, there are so many I cannot count. Then Buddha replied, My teaching through words is like the number of leaves of these branches. My teaching through silence is the number of leaves in this forest. As long as we talk a lot, we make mistakes. My teacher told me, do you know why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth? We need to twice listen to other words than we speak. Lao Tzu said, the one who knows does not speak. The one who speaks does not know. My teacher also told me, tigers are solitary animals, but wolves live in pack. Tigers are very strong animals. Eagles are also very solitary animals. Sparrows live in flocks. That's why sometimes at home or in our workplace, we need to associate with others. Yeah, that's important. But as a practitioner, sometimes we need some solitary environment. That's very important to conserve our energy, to reflect ourselves very deeply. That's why when one Dharma center offers retreat, it's usually silent retreat to reflect ourselves. So, right speech, let's not forget, in our daily life, we say compassionate, wise, encouraging word to others whenever it's possible. Thank you.